right, let's do it live on a Tuesday edition of Cleveland Browns Daily. I am merely Beau. He is the great Z. How you doing today, pal?
I'm doing well, man. Doing well. Happy to be here in the building. There's a little bit of a buzz in the building, I would say. Got to talk with a lot of the coaches, and everybody's excited. And just, it's one of those things where being outside of it, we saw the success on the field, right? You got a feeling. Yeah. We've heard people talk about, we're rowing in, the same direction, and everybody's on the same page, and we're all putting in the work, and we're of like mind and all this.
Yeah.
You don't. You conceptually get it, right? We've all had times in our professional career where we thought everything clicked like that and everybody was so happy. But being here and getting to, talk to so many of the coaches as I've done, and even front office people as I've done the last 2 days being here, it's more than that. I mean, the words professional utopia, professional nirvana were used by multiple people across multiple facets of the organization, and that just gives me, and I think should get everybody listening, like a lot of confidence. That's why the success that we had feels to me like the tip of the iceberg. It feels so sustainable because everything's being done in such a way. Now, it also gives me the pause that how are we going to keep this coaching staff together? How are we going to keep? But those are good problems to have. Those comes with
problems
even more
for
success.
Another day. Yeah,
that's right. But just the good vibes, man. Sun's out, good vibes. Had just good talks with some people, and really just fired up about it. It's been a pretty exciting 2 days.
It does feel almost as if because of last year played amidst a pandemic. And just the uncertainty of week to week, and every day, every week, we would get to those Tuesdays, those Wednesdays. We're like, oh God, who's on a list? Is it enough time to get back? Are we going to have somebody on the list? We avoided it forever, and then it was just cataclysmic down the stretch. We persevered beyond it. The fact that we had limited number, 5,000 people in the stands, that type of thing. The fact that I have not been in the building in 54 weeks. Just me personally. The fact that hasn't happened in that long.
And I miss
Same. But I think all of those things it almost feels like it was a year that happened, but did it really? Because you couldn't touch it.
Right.
It wasn't tangible. There's not those moments. You think of the magical moments that happened in Baker's rookie year. You think of that Thursday nighter, and you think of the Cincinnati game at the end of the year. You think of all those incredible moments, and you were celebrating them as a city. You could touch it. You could feel it. You lived it. This one this season, and sport in general, almost feels like it's happening in a closet.
It's a movie.
Somewhere else. It's not something tangible. And I don't think until we get to play it, sometimes I think that's the way people almost felt about last season, is it was almost like we're watching a television show or a dream because you weren't there. You would have been there. The great line from Jim Donovan, all that's missing is all of you. That is, I do sense that with this team and sports in general. Like, these things have happened, but we haven't been able to touch them. You're fortunate you're in the building. You're able to see everybody. And so you could say, oh, yeah, this is very real. But even for them, to a man, like you asked Kevin Stefanski, in a moment of clarity, did it feel like that season happened? Or were you so on a hamster wheel of let's just try to test, practice, Zoom, practice? It was so robotic that much of the emotion that happens organically in a season was lost because of it.
You're right, and I think that goes, again, to just how special the environment that was created, even in the face of that kind of adversity, that they were able to overcome it. By the way, I'm waiting for Gibbe to jump in here and chastise you for not properly giving Jim Donovan credit, because whenever I quote that line and give him great credit beforehand, he likes to jump in and yell at me and be like, you got to acknowledge it as Jim Donovan.
I don't know what you're talking about.
I did.
I know you did. Exactly.
Oh, he still jumps in even when you do?
Yes, remember?
He wants to give. Yeah.
He did that. You had to defend
that's right.
me.
Oh, that's right. I had to. Actually, he did. That's right.
I don't know what you're talking about.
Yeah. By the way, Gibbe.
I feel like Beau's handled it right.
Studio.
Beau's been a pro's pro. He's handled it right.
He is a pro's pro. He's a huge B.
Huge.
Gibbe, we need some scissors here.
Are we going to unbox this?
Oh, yeah, we've got the spotlight. I think I might need scissors to get in. It's
By the way,
very nicely.
I saw it's one of those things where you look at spite and you're like, is that spelled right?
Yeah.
We couldn't, and I'm
you
like,
could convince me either way.
It didn't look
you
right.
could convince me.
And I was ready to go all in on that.
No, but it was right.
It was right.
Yeah, that's right.
Speaking of spellings, as Z is opening this box that we were sent from a fantastic listener
I have
with
a
our
pair of
Spite
scissors.
light,
I'm just not giving it to him.
Of course. You say Spite looks wrong, so the Black Cobra, the 9-year-old, is full in on spelling, and what we're doing is like words that sound the same but mean two different things.
Yeah.
The English language is pure crud.
Yeah.
English language is pure crud. Like rye and rye, like this stuff is crazy. Whoever did, we failed. The English language failed as an institution to have so many things mean the same or sound the same but mean entirely different and spelled different. That's a bad job out of whoever came up with the English language. Go ahead. How's your light going?
So here we go. Here's the unboxing again. This was the light. We wanted to wait for Gibbe to be back.
Could be
brought to us by Alex Sirky. So thank you, Alex.
Okay.
Big A Alex.
We think. We don't know what's in there.
We don't know though. Now we're going through it. Okay. We've got a little. Oh, yes.
Wait, he's really got it sealed.
It's an on-air light. Hold on a second. And it's got a plug. And then this plugs into it. See, now what we need to do,
Zegura's now plugging in on the stream. He's plugging in the on-air lights. You've seen Saturday Night Live when they go to the scene, and here's whoever. Then they flash that sign is flashing. That on-air sign is someone has sent to us, and now it has a cord, and Z is trying to find a place to plug it in. Now, this could set the whole show off the air. I mean, to be perfectly fair. I mean, this could send the entire show off the air. We have no idea what he's plugging into. Well, he did go to private school. I don't know if he's an electrical engineer.
I'm not. It is plugged in. It is plugged in, I believe.
Okay.
I don't see light yet.
We're still on the air, I think.
There's more stuff in here. And, yes, we are on the air. I don't know if this is.
We think.
This might be the light here. I don't know. There's some pieces I'll have to work on. But we do have a light,
though.
We do have a light now, Gibby. Oh, we got a note. We got a note.
Looks like a book.
To Nathan and Beau. Your secret Santa from Central Oregon strikes again. Not with throwback Browns quarter zips, but with the oh-so-controversial on-air studio light. Whilst this light doesn't function in the way it needs to, hopefully it will send a direct message to those responsible that the people of the world team will stand down no longer. Lights away, boys. Lights away. Big H husband Alex Sirky and Big S singer Jade McRae here. Oh, Jade and Al, yes.
Oh, Jade.
Yes.
Fantastic.
The best. Remember, when concerts come back to Cleveland, you boys are our guests of honor at the Connor Palace or Blossom Amphitheater or anywhere else we play. Beau, I recall you stating your fondness for a good DMB show. We got the hookup there, too. Your loyal Big F fans, Alex and Jade. Wow.
Okay.
Bravo.
All right.
Bravo. Look at this thing. Here, we'll put it right here.
Okay.
There it is.
Beautiful.
It is beautiful. Now it plugs in, though, so I think it does. It's got to – I got to figure it out. Oh, there we go. I got a little second of light there. Oh.
There you go.
I'll figure it out. But, yes.
Yeah, there we go.
This will be entertaining to watch.
Very good.
Give it. The people have spoken.
People have spoken. The people have spoken. That's it. Very good. Also seeing officially here Malik Jackson in the fold, so you've got that going for you, which is nice.
Yeah.
I never know what to do with these because it's like widely reported and well known, and we spend days talking about it, and then it becomes official.
And then it's official.
So I never know. Like, do we make a big deal again? Like, oh boy, look what we've done, or do we acknowledge? Yeah, we've been.
I think we acknowledge it. We've gone through it pretty good, and I think that's where we go with it.
Yeah,
I think we've done it.
Yeah,
I think we've done a yeoman's effort. And
that's kind of where I am. That's where I am. Well, that's a good job. That's a fantastic job out of them to get us the light. That's beautiful. Look at that thing. It's fantastic.
It's beautiful.
Fantastic.
Beautiful. Just beautiful.
It's good to know when you're on.
It is.
And yesterday, as you alluded to, because you saw Troy Hill in the building in his, I would describe that as a mustard tracksuit. Is how I would describe that. A mustard.
Yeah, quite a mustard indeed. It's a beautiful mustard.
Yeah.
It was, I said, reminiscent of my original 1973 Oldsmobile Omega, the original paint job.
Yeah.
Pre-Earl Scheib.
Yeah, the Earl Scheib changed everything.
Oh, it sure did.
It's a game changer for you when that happened.
It sure did. Not the inside of the doors or the inside of the
That's okay.
the trunk.
Nothing to see here.
Nothing
to see here.
Move on.
You could have done it Dukes of Hazzard style and just slide in. Slide in through the windows.
You never need to open the doors. Who didn't try that?
No reason. Bolt them closed.
Who did try that? I tried that. I tried that a few times. I had a couple successes and also a couple accidents.
The thing you couldn't do was an ability to slide across the hood.
No.
that was something that they did with great efficiency that I don't know how they got the angle on that to slide across that hood that way on that. That was a Challenger or a Charger? I think it was a Charger.
Yeah.
But they were able to slide right across that thing. I don't know how you pulled that off. I tried it many a time to many, many fail. Do you watch any of the hoops last night?
Oh, wait. Jade just reached out on Twitter to let me know that there is, in fact, a remote. And so now we've got it's LED.
LED. Oh, that's great.
There we go.
You know what we got to do? Here's what we got to do.
Yes.
That's beautiful.
Jade.
Beautiful. Here's what we should do. We should do this. What we'll do is every time we're on air, I will say, "Are we on?" Then you hit the button on the remote. Yep, we're on, and then we'll start.
This is great.
We'll do that until we get a real life.
This is great. Gibby, look at this. Would you look at
What a time.
Look
at how excited he is.
But that means you now – hold on. But that means you now have two buttons you have to press.
Yeah.
The mic on and off button.
Yep.
And the
mic
light.
But whenever I press the mic,
they're not together.
I'm going to do them at the same time, which is going to be – that's how I'm really going to know.
I'm going to give you 5 minutes before you screw the pooch on that.
Never going to screw it up.
Because you're definitely going to screw that up.
I got to figure out where I can put it, though, so that I can see it and the camera can see it, too.
So it's prominent.
There we
go.
There we go. That's it.
Oh, that's
The
beautiful.
spot there.
That's awesome.
Gibby, what do you think about this?
Huge win.
I appreciate the assist.
Huge. Jade and Alex
hit us all hard.
Jade and Alex,
I appreciate
legends.
people stepping in.
Legends.
Outstanding.
Legends.
So great.
Look, hey, Beau, and
wait
too,
to see that.
the best part is it's LED, so we could go blue. You want to go green? Green means go. Get into a purple or even a pink here.
Yeah.
Red, yellow. We got it all. We got all the colors. Any color you want, we got it.
Yeah, I think you want a red light.
I'm going red.
That's the way you want that.
The traditional.
That's traditional red.
Gibby, how does it look on the screen? How does it look?
It's getting lost in the background of the giant orange wall.
But what about but it's in black.
Again, there's an orange wall behind you. I'm not saying it's not there.
Put it right put it right in front of you. Right in front of you so it's up against your fantastic quarter zip.
Well, that looks pretty trashy on set currently.
I put a paper towel.
We just have random things up there.
I put a paper towel roll in front of it.
Oh, that's good.
This is amazing.
That's beautiful.
This is just a delight.
Alex and Jade, thank you. That's
yes.
great. That is. I can't wait to get back in there and see that thing in its full working capacity. It's going to be very, very fun.
Yeah,
did you watch any of the hoops last night?
I did not.
Did you watch any of the
hoops last night? I started
none of it.
division
Even as the Pac-12.
No, I had
even as the Pac-12.
We had the children. They're not
out.
into the madness of the March.
Oh, sure. Yeah, 4 Pac-12 teams into the Sweet 16.
Well, yeah, that's right.
4 of them.
Well,
yeah, it's incredible. Ohio not represented. We're out by the first weekend. We're out. And the other kind of big trend here was the Big Ten had 9 teams, and just one survives. Michigan having to carry the weight of an entire league into the second weekend. I was rooting for them. I was. I root for them when they're. I root for them when they're not playing the Scarlet and Gray.
It's a basketball.
It is 4 Sweet 16s in a row for them.
Let them be good at basketball. That's fine.
Yeah, they've played for a couple of national titles. I think you answered your own question on Gibby wanted to know if it was if we liked the Monday night. I thought it was tough. I thought it was weird. You know, we kind of predicted it would be. What did you think, Gibby? Did you think it was weird?
Yes, like I totally I want to watch the Ohio game. You know, I thought they might have a chance, but when you have one bad half of shooting in the tournament, you're done. And that's
that kid for
basically
Creighton
what happened.
was
But they
lights
tipped it
out
6-10 on a Monday. Like I'm doing other things.
It was hard. Yeah, it was hard to get into it. I'm guessing, and it's that way this weekend too. It's the same way. So it's Friday, Saturday, Sunday, Monday this weekend too. And I don't know if that was done
COVID testing
just for COVID at the beginning, like to give them an extra day to get tested and to get cleared if they pushed it. But Monday's tough compared to Thursday. Thursday, it's you kick off the weekend, you're ready to go.
Right.
Yeah, it's harder certainly to get it done that way. The randomness of college basketball, my goodness. Gonzaga, Creighton, USC, Oregon, Michigan, Florida State, UCLA, Alabama, Houston, Syracuse, Oregon State, Loyola, Oral Roberts, Arkansas, Villanova, and Baylor. Of all of the teams that I just mentioned, I mean, how many of those – I guess you could argue, I think it'd be a tough argument that UCLA is a blue blood, but that's more of it's so long ago that they were. But from a blue blood standpoint, there really isn't one remaining in the Sweet 16.
No, and it speaks to, though, in some ways, just the craziness of this year and what, programs were dealing with, and that's why I think it's so
Sure.
unpredictable. It's the highest number I saw of seeds left in the Sweet 16 ever. If you add up the total number of the remaining seeds, it's the biggest number ever. I think it's going to be
Midwest
fun.
right now is an 8, a 12, an 11, a 15 in the South.
I've still got my full Final Four intact and 6 of my Elite 8, so I'm feeling.
Do you really?
Yeah, I'm feeling pretty good.
You won the bracket then.
Based on nothing. It's based. Well, we'll see. I could lose my people, but it completely.
Who do you have? You have Gonzaga, Baylor.
So I've got. I'll tell you right now. I've got
Houston.
Yes.
Michigan.
I've got. In the West is Gonzaga.
Yep. Hard
East,
A on that.
Michigan. Yep. South Arkansas.
Okay.
And then Houston in the Midwest.
Okay.
Again, based on absolutely nothing.
Well, there you go. I mean, I had Illinois winning the whole thing, and they were done in the second round.
Oh,
so that's all you need to know right there.
Curses.
Yeah, the Illini let me down.
Where were they? They were in the Midwest?
They were the 1 seed in the Midwest.
Yeah.
They got ousted by Loyola Chicago.
I didn't have that one. I did have, for whatever reason, I had Oregon State winning. I had a few of the Pac-12 schools winning for, again, based on absolutely nothing. I
had Oregon State winning a round, but I didn't think that they'd be in a position now to get to the Elite 8.
But
that's
by the way, Trucker Dave tweets at us, and I thought this might be true. The tournament this week is Saturday, Sunday, Monday, Tuesday.
Wait, what?
Wait, hold the phone. Are we sure on that? Saturday, it's not Friday?
Saturday, Sunday, Monday, Tuesday. And I thought I had heard that somewhere else.
Why? Oh, it is.
Stupidity at its finest.
So I know what they're doing.
Prime time?
I know what they're doing. Yeah, they're going for prime time on Monday and Tuesday nights. Because Friday night's a bad TV ratings night. It's bad.
That's just
Thursday
awful.
night's the best, though.
Right, but they're basically punting on Thursday to avoid Friday. So you're going to get Saturday all day. You'll have it. You'll have a game. Every couple hours all day, starting at 3:00. I mean, the last game tips at almost 10:00 Eastern, and then Sunday. My guess is they'll start it early. Yeah, they'll start a half hour earlier. This is a bad job. The final game of the Sweet 16 is Sunday night at 9:45 Eastern. Now the good news is it's Oregon and USC, so it's two West Coast schools, but that's a bad job.
It is a bad job.
So then it'll probably be like 6:40
we have to watch
and
Elite 8 basketball on a random Tuesday night.
Monday and Tuesday.
That's
Monday and Tuesday random nights.
Outrageous.
Yeah, it's a bad job. Why would you make those kids sit there this much longer? They're sequestered in Indianapolis. You're going to make them sit there for a whole week before they get to play again?
I don't like it.
Bad job.
By the way, Bodie on the corner says.
Neither.
Bodie on the corner says, "Tell Gibbe to stop being over dramatic. You can see the on-air sign clearly, and it's beautiful."
The people versus Gibbe.
I didn't.
The people versus Gibbe.
I don't. It's fine. The light's
what's
fine,
happening.
but the light you have to control it with the microphone.
Well, that's for you to figure out. You're a huge P.
No.
You said, I don't have the budget.
Covered.
You said I don't have the budget for a light.
You got it. You're good.
And guess what? We've got
safe.
you a light now. Thanks to Jay Nell.
You got
You got a
budget
light
now.
We're counting on you.
You want it with green
All you
nail
gotta do is
polish?
wire it.
There you go. It's got green on it now. The green nail polish
Good
have it
luck.
by 3 o'clock.
We're all counting on you.
Get that to you by 3
Fully
o'clock.
anticipate this getting screwed up.
Well, I'm going to prove you wrong.
Fantastic. What a time. All right, those are your OBM Hot Topics. Ohio Business Machine preferred comp provider, your Cleveland Browns, for all the X's and O's for your office. Call 216-485-2000. Visit ohiobusinessmachines.com. Mel Kiper Jr. with his latest mock draft will tell you who he has us picking at 26. Mel, for the first time, goes to a familiar name. We've heard it a billion times, and it sets up this way for Mel as well. We get to that. Sir Andrew will join us in the second hour to go over what we've seen in free agency, do a little offensive, defensive depth charts. A lot of fun on the program today, kids. Off and running. Cleveland Runs Daily, 850 ESPN Cleveland. Beau Bishop here for my friends at Weather Seal Home Services. Need a roof replacement? Would you like to replace your roof for the last time? That's the benefit of choosing a metal roof technology from Weather Seal. It's come a long ways. Materials, styles, colors, they've improved significantly. They are beautiful, indestructible, and affordable too, especially with Weather Seal. Plus, with new metal roof technology, Weather Seal includes a 6-inch gutter upgrade, up to 7 years, 0-interest financing. That's right, 7 years, 0-interest financing. You can call my guys at 877-351-SEAL or visit weathersealhomeservices.com. Z, are we on the air?
Yes, according to our beautiful light, we are. I don't even need to think about it.
Wow.
Just dancing, loving life right now. Baco just slacked me. Baco, who had been holding down the huge P duties for the last couple of days, he's loving it. Said it's the best. Loving that we're dancing. We're so happy, and now there's no doubt.
Yeah.
There's no doubt about the status on air. We're on.
No.
The one thing, though, that I will say, and I know that there's been a lot of merch that's been bought by the Tap Heads. That's the fan club of the mic tap to make sure we're on. The Tap Heads, it's a big group, and they're going to be. I'm sorry,
big
Tap
group. Heads.
Now you guys can all be. You can be. If it's light, it's right. That's what you can be now. You can join the new fan club that's started.
We said last week after free agency, let's see what the mock drafts do after free agency. Mel Kiper Jr. on point with his today dropping.
Is he on point?
And has some comments about our free agency. Hold, please. No, on point that this would be the timing.
Oh, sure.
Browns he writes, quote, Browns general manager Andrew Berry having a nice offseason, adding help on defense, getting impact players in the secondary, and safety John Johnson III. Cornerback Troy Hill, former Rams, of course, and the way this draft is shaking out, there could still be solid defenders available in late round one. If Cleveland can find a pass rusher to put opposite Myles Garrett, that's a huge win, which is why I considered Oklahoma's Ronnie Perkins. Texas is Joseph Asai here. But Collins is a versatile defender who can play linebacker or defensive end. I like his fit with the Browns. Get him on the field, watch him make plays. So this is Zaven Collins, who by far and away is the guy that is most often mocked to us. I also saw PFF's had us taking Jason Owe out of Penn State. That made a little more sense to me. The Collins one, I don't know. It doesn't seem like it would fit with what we are doing defensively, especially if there's an elite defensive end talent out there that you could groom with Myles long term.
Well, I think you're looking at, you mentioned Owe's on the board. Greg Newsome, a corner. I still think it could be a corner there's on the board.
Yep.
He's got the Saints taking Tutu Atwell, which is my guy. Keep him out of the first round. Melt silence. Shush. But I also think.
You see what my boy Rondale Moore did today, by the way?
I like him too. Yeah.
Yeah. 4.29.
Talented, fast, explosive. And that's the thing for the Browns, though. If they are looking to add a speed receiver, I think you can get a pretty good one in the second round. I think they're going to be there are a lot of those guys in this draft. A lot.
Yep.
The other
I think the depth at wide receiver will be pretty astonishing by the time we get to the draft.
Right, and I didn't want to butcher his name, but the kid out of Georgia, the pass rusher from Georgia, is somebody that I think would be very appealing to the Browns at 26. Zaven Collins, so it says he could be a pass rusher, he could be an off-ball linebacker. He's kind of Anthony Barr-ish. And from that standpoint, I get it. But where I got a little bit lost with that is that you sign Anthony Walker, you bring back Malcolm Smith, you've got Jacob Phillips, you've got Taki, you've got Mac Wilson, you bring back Elijah Lee. So you've got 6 linebackers here already in a defense that is probably going to have 2 linebackers on the field or fewer more often than not.
Right.
So I just feel like they like their linebacking room. So Zaven Collins, I don't think you're drafting him to be a pure pass rusher. So if that's the case, I don't know that he makes a ton of sense for us at that part at pick 26. Now, prior to all of that, I would. Azeez Ojulari, that's who I'm talking about, that I think could be a heck of an edge rusher, a little bit light, but a sub-package guy early in his career as his body bulks up a little bit more. He's only 20. I feel like he is explosive off the edge. That's somebody that I could see us taking there, knowing you've got with Tack now, you don't have to get somebody who's starting for you day one. So I still think defensive.
Owe would be that. Kwity Paye could be that.
Sure.
I mean, there's big-time players at the end of this round at defensive end because I think, and Mel thinks this obviously too, that there will be an incredible run on quarterbacks. You can have 5 taken in the top 10 picks, so people are going to get pushed back.
Right, and he's got, from a defensive end standpoint, he's got Kwity Paye going 11 to the Giants. He has Rousseau.
Oh, that's high. Okay.
Rousseau and Phillips, the two guys from the U, going 18 to the Dolphins and for Phillips, and Rousseau 21 to the Colts. A lot of people have had them taking an edge rusher this offseason. Tennessee was a team pre-free agency that many thought edge rusher, but they signed Bud Dupree, so I think that takes them off of that list. So I think we'll see where it ultimately goes, but I think you're in a pretty good spot to get one of those guys. And, I don't know enough about Joe Tryon. I need Dane Brugler's guide to help me out, but I know that there are a lot of people around the league that think the kid from Georgia, Azeez Ojulari, could be really talented, and I think you have an opportunity to take a chance on a guy who might need a little bit of development, but that is supremely talented and physically gifted.
I would agree on that front. Stephen Holder, senior writer for The Athletic, covering the Colts, will join us on our new linebacker. Speaking of linebacker, Anthony Walker, that's coming up next. You're listening to Cleveland Browns Daily on 850 ESPN Cleveland. Beau Bishop, Nathan Zegura with you here on Cleveland Browns Daily, 850 ESPN Cleveland. Time to head out on that fifth third money line for a visit with our good buddy Stephen Holder, senior writer covering the Colts for The Athletic. Stephen, thanks so much for taking the time. And, of course, the main topic of conversation here is our new linebacker, Anthony Walker. And I will say this, that I have rarely seen a response that like the one that Darius Leonard gave about Walker. And that was something that was encouraging to us on this end because obviously it was something that we did not know, that type of connection that existed over there. What can you tell us about Walker, what he meant to the Colts, and then obviously what he meant to Leonard? seems like we may have lost Steven there. We'll see if we can get him back on the air, or at least I don't hear him. You hear him, Z?
I hear him.
Here we go. Here we go.
Oh, there he goes. There it is. There's
it's amazing when you hit the mute button, people can't hear you. It's very weird how that works. So, yeah. Anyway, so I heard everything you said. So I'll start by addressing Walker's relationship with Leonard. Those two guys really were inseparable and are inseparable. I mean, they're very, very, very close friends. They played side by side. Obviously, had a real connection on and off the field. I think they had sort of a subtle, unspoken communication thing going between them in many cases, where they could react to things, and know what the other was thinking and play off each other in the process without really saying anything. I think that was really, a real boost for the Colts defense the last couple of years, honestly. And so it was definitely hard to have him leave. Walker was or has been really a force in the locker room, I will tell you, as a leader. And it's interesting because he's not a big name guy. He was a late round draft pick. He's just a guy who's kind of self-made. And I think two things. Number one, that comes with a lot of credibility because teammates see how hard he worked to become what he is. And then secondly, he really just kind of has a natural knack, I think, for taking on that role. He's the son of a coach. His father was an athletic director in South Florida at one of the very successful athletic programs in town. So, it's just something that's in him. He's went to school at Northwestern, so he has the academic chops. I mean, this is a bright guy. Chris Ballard, the Colts GM, has told me multiple occasions. He said that Anthony Walker will probably be an NFL GM. He'll take my job one day. So he is a salt of the earth guy. I'm just telling you. So I know you're wondering, well, why are they letting him go? Really, it really just is a product of draft picks just kind of growing into their roles, and he became expendable. That's really all it boiled down to. It had nothing to do with whether they liked him, didn't like him. It's just they have options, and all things being equal, you go with the younger guy and the cheaper guy. That's really all this came down to with the Colts and Anthony Walker.
Yeah, it seems like it's one of those situations that maybe if the salary cap were where it would have been pre-COVID expected to be, he's probably still a Colt. But those are kind of decisions good teams have to make, and it's hard to pay kind of that middle-class player. But I know the Browns are thrilled to get him. How would you just describe – you talked a lot about him as a guy. How would you describe his play style and what Browns fans can expect to see from him on the field?
Right. So, I came into last season – well, let me rephrase that. I think a couple of seasons ago when he became a starter, I wondered if he was a little bit too much of an old school linebacker because there were questions about speed and whether he could cover and those kinds of things. I would say he answered the bell in that regard because, I know at the point of attack, he definitely has proven himself. Like he especially against the run, he is a real factor. There's no question about it. He has great instincts. He's a good tackler. He's very physical. He's going to really, I think, bring that sort of physicality and that presence. You definitely get that. The question, and I think one of the reasons they let him go is because they had to kind of decide, all right, in the Colts defense, the run and hit linebacker really is the big thing, right? And these guys drop into coverage a lot. That middle linebacker in particular, you have to cover a ton of ground. And so they felt, I think it's fair to say Bobby Okereke, who's a third-round pick from a couple years ago, he's going to take that role. He is probably the better coverage linebacker for the Colts versus Anthony Walker. So that's kind of where that decision came in. But that being said, I do think Anthony Walker, performed above expectations in the pass defense, because that was something I had concerns about. I actually wasn't terribly disappointed in it. I actually think he held his own. It's just a matter of, the comparison with Okereke. He really, I think, has elite potential in that regard. So, Walker was going to lose out in that comparison. But I actually think he was, average to above average, actually. So I think you're getting a good player.
Stephen, the thing that I find is so interesting is we found ourselves doing this last week when we first found out that we were getting him here. It almost seems like you're talking about a 10-year vet.
Yeah.
With his presence and the way that he goes about his business, and you realize he's 25. So what is it? Is it just a natural charisma that he has that is infectious that people follow? Because we've got a lot of young linebackers over here who are trying to learn it the right way, and I'm thinking that despite his age, he's probably fits that mold perfectly.
You actually described it perfectly, because it is true. Sometimes I find myself talking to Anthony, and I have to remind myself, God, he's young. I could be his dad, and it's weird because he does kind of carry himself like a 30-some-odd-year-old player. He really does. There's no question about it. And I think that's why he just, kind of became a voice for that defense. So after a loss, for example, you know how it is. Look, I mean, no player is dying to go talk to the media after a loss, okay? But Anthony Walker, to his credit, he'd be the last guy to leave the locker room after a loss. He would sit there and he would take every question, and it didn't matter if he was walking out and you stopped him to ask him about a missed tackle, whatever it was, or a bad fourth down play by the defense, whatever the case. He would stop and he'd give you what you needed. And part of that is just, him just, I think, being a good citizen, but also I think part of that is just who he is both accountability and willing to take the good with the bad. I think that's part of leadership, and I think when younger players, younger in terms of less experience, not maybe age-wise, but younger players, when they see that, I think you can't help but be impacted by it, and so I really think that you're going to get a lot in terms of leadership and in terms of charisma. It is a natural charisma, as you said. I think that goes a long, long way. You got to have talent, clearly, but I think there are some unwritten and intangible things that a guy like Anthony Walker can bring.
As we kind of take a step back from Anthony Walker and look at the Colts in general, one of the biggest, kind of newsiest off seasons in the entire league, with obviously the big move to bring in Carson Wentz. What now that you've talked with them and seen the organization stance on it, what did you think of that deal, and where do you think this leaves the Colts?
So I think they did the best they could. Whether Carson Wentz ends up becoming or reclaiming his place as an elite quarterback, I mean, that is very much still to be determined.
Sure.
Right? We have no idea. But I definitely think of their options, this is probably the best they could do. I mean, you see what happened on the free agent market if they would have waited. I mean, you're probably going to end up with the likes of Andy Dalton. And no disrespect to Andy Dalton, but, I mean, he's not necessarily going to change your fortunes if you're the Colts, So I think that they knew that. They also knew they've got the 21st overall pick in the draft. How are you going to, with the 21st pick, how are you going to maneuver to get in position to draft one of the quarterbacks that, one of the difference-making quarterbacks in this draft? How do you do that? I don't know. I don't know that there is a way to do that. So, giving up the 2 draft picks for Carson Wentz, does that do you feel that? Yeah, of course. Of course you do, especially because if he basically is their starter all year, that conditional pick is going to become a first-round pick. So, look, that's valuable, and there's no question about it. But if he ends up being the guy, the Colts would probably have been willing to give more than they did, honestly, because they have such a huge void, and they really don't have an easy way to solve the problem. I mean, they're not going 4-12. They have too good of a roster.
Yep.
So you're not getting a top 10 pick. So, yeah, I think of all their options, this was probably the best they could do. It's not perfect, but it was, I think, the best of the available options.
And then you mentioned, where they're picking in the draft 21st, that they wouldn't have been able to likely get a quarterback there. What do you see them targeting now that free agency is shaking out a little bit? Because they're a few picks ahead of the Browns, which is, we're not used to being down in the 20s, but it's quite nice. What do you see the Colts targeting at 21?
Yeah, I think the left tackle spot really is the first priority. And we had no less than owner Jim Irsay last week kind of say that. He suggested it pretty strongly that they're going to target their left tackle spot in the draft. So Anthony Costanzo retired after this season, and you might recall when the Colts and Browns played last season, he missed that game.
Yeah.
and that was definitely an impact. That definitely, I think, went a long way to sort of deciding that game. Certainly the Browns pass rush had a huge impact. So his loss will be felt. So they have to do something there. And, I mean, they have a couple of candidates in-house that they can look at, but I don't think the solution is there. I think they have to go and try to find one. The good news is this draft actually matches up with their need. The tackle spot in this draft is pretty deep. So if they play their cards right, if they get the right guy, there's going to be some guys available. So I feel pretty strongly that's the way this goes. The other need that I think comes into play is edge rush. They did not go out and get one of these pass rushers in free agency, which was one of the deeper positions. But I think the Colts were not totally sold on whether these guys were the difference makers that the money says they are. So they hesitated, and we'll see if they were right about that. But they definitely, I think, have to address that spot because their young pass rushers still have a lot of growth left to do, I think.
Stephen, I'll ask it just because I'm curious about it, and it does seem like it's something that comes up almost yearly, and that's Andrew Luck. And we had text messages and Instagram things that were copied and sent around. Have you – and obviously Irsay seems – the door's always open, all of that. Is Andrew – I've heard he's around Indy. Is he? Is that just a shadow that's always there around the organization?
So he is around. He and his wife actually built a home not long before he retired. They had completed building a home not too far from the Colts facility, actually. So the ironic thing is he's down the street, literally down the street. But no, he doesn't. As far as I know, I talk to a lot of people who know Andrew. He's not talking. He's not going to talk. We've communicated by email a couple times. He's never indicated that he's going to say anything. So I don't anticipate landing some big scoop anytime soon. But no, he has the communication that I've gotten through people who know him and talk to him, which is mostly former teammates who he still talks to, is that he's very happy and has never indicated that he has any designs on coming back. And I never thought he would, honestly, because I really think if you know Andrew Luck, and no one really knows Andrew, but I think I knew him as much as I could as a member of the media. And if you know enough about him, you know that he's wired differently, and that football, while very important and was something that he really loved, I could easily have painted you a scenario years ago where Andrew Luck's life without football would have been just fine, because he's a very multi-layered and complicated person. So I think he's enjoying life, and I think he's just trying to plot what's next. I don't think football is on the list.
Stephen, another guy that people here are certainly curious about, a lot of Ohio State fans listen to this show, and that's Malik Hooker. And I know his time there oft injured didn't necessarily work out, and showed so much promise early in his career. What are you hearing about his kind of free agency track or path, if anything? And, where do you think it went wrong for Malik with the Colts?
So it is unfortunate, because if you go back to 2017 when he was drafted, his first, I think, 6 games before he tore his ACL, people don't remember this.
He was dominant.
But Malik was leading the NFL in interceptions after 6 games. I mean, he had 4 interceptions. It was like one a game almost. And we were thinking, man, maybe he really is Ed Reed. And, of course, he tore his ACL. I think, had a tough road back. I still think he was fine as a player here. I think the problem was 2 things. Obviously, way too many injuries, and that is always going to taint how people view a player. The other thing is people viewed him as a first-round pick because he was, and I think it's hard to live that down. And I try to just judge players as, well, what is he? I don't care where he was drafted. Can he play? Can he not play? So I still think Malik Hooker, if he can stay healthy, I still think he can help a team win. It's just that people forget about you pretty quickly in this league. He tore that Achilles last year, and the Colts had just an amazing start out of their 3rd-round pick, Julian Blackmon, and the rest is history. People move on, and so that's where Malik is. But he's going to have to really live down the injury history, and that may mean he has to take a short-term deal and prove himself. But I think there's a lot of potential left there. He's still young. I think he's 25.
Yeah.
The guy's still young and still a great athlete, in my opinion. So it's all about the health, I think, for Malik Hooker.
Stephen, this is awesome.
But a good,
go ahead.
a good guy, though, and a hard worker, and I'm rooting for him because I think I've seen this guy really put himself before the team, play different roles, positions, et cetera, and I think for those reasons I'm rooting for the guy.
Well, it's a big win for us when we have you on. Thank you for all your insight from over at the Colts organization, your help on Anthony as well. We're thrilled to have him, and thank you for the insights today.
Hey, no problem. I'm looking forward to seeing him up there in Cleveland.
Yeah, it'd be fun. Stephen Holder joining us. He's excellent. Senior writer, covers the Colts for The Athletic. Is there an apples to apples for that Andrew Luck situation in sport that you can think of?
No, and this popped into my mind, and you may
like Barry.
Tell me I was crazy, but there is still an injury at the root of it, right?
There were a series of injuries. I don't know that the end it was a particular injury. He wasn't hurt when he retired. It was just, he was coming off. He'd had all those injuries and he had missed time.
But he wasn't able to get on the field. Like, we were there. Remember, we were there in Indy for those joint practices, and he still wasn't able to get on the field. He still wasn't able to do anything because he was having such a tough time in the recoveries of it. So it's not like he went through a camp and was like, you know what, nah, I don't want to do this. He never was even able to get back onto the field and throw. So
that's right.
Bo Jackson came to my mind in the sense that he was so good, but Bo's was clearly ended by injury. But I think Andrew Luck's was
Calvin Johnson
ended by. But Calvin played for a decade.
Yeah, that's true. That's 10 years. Gale Sayers was 6. It's short. It's crazy. I think the one thing that's even adds to it is that it is the most important position. He was somebody that they said, Peyton Manning, thank you so much. We're going to go in a different route to. When Manning still had a lot of good football, including MVP level football in Denver in the years after, and he was the most important player in the history of the franchise. It said, all right, we'll see you on down the road. So then they draft him. He's great right away. I mean, they're immediately good. He's great right away. He's great every time he plays. He was a guy that you would have said at the time, yeah, for sure he's going to win the MVP of the league. Of course.
Yeah.
They're going to win a Super Bowl with Andrew Luck. It's a lock. So then you add all of that to it, the injuries that happened, then fighting back from it, getting to play. You saw how hard that was. But then the other thing that you add to it is he built a house down the street. Like, he's from Texas. He went to Stanford. He had no ties to the area other than being drafted there. And he's choosing to live down the road from the facility. I don't know how you couldn't, every time you went by there, you'd be like, yeah, mate, what do you think about now? And he's still, what is he, 30?
Yeah,
he's still young. He's younger than Stafford. Stafford's 32.
Andrew Luck is 31. 31, born September 12th, 1989, so he'll turn 32 this year. He played his first 3 seasons, full seasons, and that third year, 2014, threw for 4,761 yards, led the NFL with 40 touchdown passes. They go 11-5 each of his first 3 seasons. 2015 is the first time he gets injured. He plays 7 games. Then he comes back 2016, 15 games, 4,240 yards, 31 touchdowns, 30 picks. Then he suffers whatever happened, the first major injury, sits out all of 17, doesn't play in 17, comes back, plays 18. They go 10-6. He throws for 4,600 yards, 40 touchdowns, 15 picks, and then never plays again.
And that's it. And he lives down the road. Be like if Baker had that start to a career and then built a house in Westlake and just shut it down.
It's pretty wild. And, I mean, to me, that's what I was trying to think. I don't know if he's even equivalent, but, Beau had to stop playing because of his hip. And he only played 4 years. Beau only played 4 years. Bo Jackson played in the NFL for 4 seasons, never played more than 11 games in a season, and had the
remember, he would join in October.
In October, right.
Because he'd wait till after baseball, yeah.
And he had the longest run in the NFL that season, 3 out of his 4 years in the league.
He was shot out of a cannon. I mean, he was the greatest athlete of all time, probably, when you think about all of his abilities.
Yeah.
Yeah, the Luck thing's fascinating. And I think just the added intrigue of him living in Indy is it. And it's not like it's La Jolla. You know what I mean?
Correct.
Like, it's not a place you'd say, well, let's spend the rest of our lives in Montecito. Let's spend the rest of our lives in, in Carmel, Indiana. It just isn't what it is. So it's a strange thing, and I would think it'd be hard to get out from underneath that shadow. hard for us to get out from underneath the shadow of the best podcast available. And, in fact, it's going to be even harder in the next hour. Sir Andrew will join us at 2 o'clock as we take a look at free agency through a week. Probably get his thoughts on his Ohio Bobcats as well. That's coming up at the top of the hour. Cleveland Browns Daily, 850 ESPN Cleveland. Injuries during childbirth require experienced counsel. Call the lawyers at Elk & Elk for a clear answer as to what happened during your child's birth. Elk & Elk, a proud partner of your Cleveland Browns. Call 1-800-ELK-OHIO today. Let's head out on the Fifth Third Money Line for a visit with our good buddy Andrew Gribble. He is the senior staff writer here with your Cleveland Browns. Before we get into the football, a tough night yesterday for the Bobcats, but a pretty incredible run. And Andrew, one of the things that's really cool, Gribbs, about when Ohio makes one of these runs is you realize how many alumni write for a living, or at least that I follow on Twitter, because it feels like about every other person I know who writes or does media for a living went to Ohio. So it was a heck of a run that provided a lot of joy, but a tough ending last night, my man.
Yeah, we're pretty proud of the fact that we went there. I think that's the thing, and I think this basketball team always brings out a special connection. But it was tough to watch last night because I think we were just all watching the same thing—a team that was just out of gas with no legs and just none of the shots were falling. Just the effort was there, but nothing was going down. So it was one of those tough ones to watch. But again, I'll take 3 straight first-round victories. That's something to hang your hat on, and when the Bobcats get in, it's entertaining.
That's right. You're going to take somebody down in round number 1. All right, Gribbs, let's turn our attention to a plan that was perhaps better executed on ultimately in the big picture. General Manager Andrew Berry, head coach Kevin Stefanski, and this attacking style they took in free agency, but very measured, very tactical, very calm, and just really all of a sudden in the span of a week, if you think about if we were talking last Tuesday, have flushed out all 3 levels of this defense.
Yeah, and the way you look at it, I mean, ultimately, I'm not saying it is 5 starters, but it could be. When you look at this free agent activity that the Browns did on top of bringing back some of their own on defense as well, and I think it was just kind of like you said, methodical, and when you look at the numbers, nothing that's going to put the Browns in any kind of tough situation moving forward. And I think there's a lot to like about all of these moves, obviously headlined by John Johnson III. I think he's just an elite player that you're getting entering the prime of his career. But I would say outside of the Johnson signing, it's pretty similar to what you saw from Andrew Berry and company last year on the defense, getting a lot of guys that have a lot of upside, a lot of something to prove. And I think we'll see just how these guys truly do fit in. But I think you get Joe Woods in his second year. I think he's got a pretty good understanding of what he wants out of his defense, and I think you can see the moves kind of reflecting that moving forward. And specifically with Malik Jackson today, that's a guy he knows really well from his time in Denver, and it'll be interesting to see what Malik can do entering his 10th season with the Browns as well.
Yeah, the other thing, kind of ahead of the curve a little bit, getting John Johnson the third, getting Hill, slot corner and safety, 2 positions that the NFL, from a salary perspective, maybe don't give the proper amount of compensation for. Johnson's a guy who's top 5-6 safety in the league, and you're getting him on a deal that's really friendly and him wanting to be here. That kind of outsmarting it is another thing too, and it fits in. It's not just that, but it's also fitting into the type of scheme that Joe Woods wants to play. And you think about a remade secondary, a group that a year ago was one of the weaknesses of this team. You factor in Greedy Williams coming back, hopefully at full strength, Grant Delpit. This all of a sudden could be a strength of this team in a matter of a couple of months, in one offseason. That's a pretty incredible turnaround.
Yeah, and you look at the winning formula in the NFL, I think the Super Bowl champion Tampa Bay Buccaneers had a pretty darn good secondary as well. And I think that's something that you need to have in this kind of pass-heavy league that we're now in. And it's just one of those things where you look at the roster, and it's just interesting with the upgrades you have in the secondary. And safety, like you mentioned, is one of those positions that the league, it seems like, can't quite figure out how to compensate it. Because I remember it was just a couple of years ago we were seeing some of these safeties like Landon Collins getting these huge deals, and you're wondering what the direction, where it was going. But you look at the kind of player John Johnson III is, and then you see the salary, and you're just like, wow. I mean, that just seems like a steal, and it's got to make it all the more frustrating for the Rams that they can't keep a guy like that. I mean, when you hear all the players talk about him, when you see what stage of the career he's in, it's just incredible what happens when you truly just don't have the money to make that kind of signing like the Rams did. And I think it's their loss is the Browns' gain. And I do think when you watch the Browns last year and see the struggles in the secondary, you knew you had to address it in some way. And I think that Andrew Berry has made it pretty definitive doing that even before you get into the draft, where you can get even better that way as well.
Yeah, and clearly another place where there might be some salary inefficiencies at slot corner, and the Browns get an excellent one in Troy Hill, and you could do a lot worse than taking 40% of the starters from the number 1 ranked pass defense in the NFL secondary a year ago, but that's what the Browns did, and now you've got Johnson and Delpit and Harrison and Hill and Greedy and Denzel, and it seems like from the secondary standpoint, you talked about how important it is. The Browns have really remade it in essence, and you could have 4 new starters out of, I would call, 6 guys that feel like starters in the secondary.
Yeah, I mean, I think it's clear, and again, the key thing for them moving forward is you can never have too many, because there's going to be injuries along the way, and I think it would be hard to have the kind of injuries the Browns had last year again, but you've got to prepare as if that could be a possibility. I mean, you just have to have a strength in numbers at that position, and the interesting thing about Troy Hill is, he's been in the league for a little bit now. I mean, this isn't a guy that's just going up for his first contract here. He's been in the league for a while, but he really has only been a slot corner for 1 season. And when I talked to him yesterday, he considers himself still a work in progress at that position. So this will be interesting to see how much better he can even be at slot corner in a full second season doing that. I think that's the exciting possibility with him. He seems to have embraced that role where some other corners might not embrace it, but he certainly has. And I think it did help to have a John Johnson at safety and a Jalen Ramsey at corner, but he's walking into the same situation potentially with an elite corner in Denzel Ward and John Johnson at third, again, as a safety. So I'm excited to see what it's like. I'm sure Joe Woods is as well, because this is his area of expertise with these defensive backs. And I think we just need to see what this defense can look like with a full stack of weapons at his disposal, and namely just seeing this defense, what it could look like with 3 safeties. I mean, we saw so much 3 safeties in 2019. You get a new defensive coordinator who says he wants to do the same thing, and you just can't do it. And I think that's what'll be intriguing to see. You just got to keep all 3 of those guys healthy and develop even some more to have some guys ready to go, so you don't have to not do what you think you can do best.
It really speaks to what Joe Woods was able to do despite all of it, as well as the defense played despite all of the sacrifices he had to make, certainly in personnel. In that interview that Gribbs did with Troy Hill will air here in about 20 minutes from now. Gribbs, one thing that kind of hit on Nathan and I, kind of hit us last Friday, was this notion that the Cleveland Browns now, in 2 off seasons and 1 draft for Andrew Berry, are in a position to where if we want to play next Sunday, we can. We're demonstratively better. We have starters across the board, and we haven't drafted anybody yet, which puts the Browns in a position to where they can just draft the best player available, which is a remarkable thing. It's been a long time since you haven't had to draft franchise left tackle, franchise cornerback, franchise cornerstone on defense. You don't have to do that. You don't have to draft for need. It will open up the draft board, I think, for Andrew Berry entirely. Sure, there will probably be a focus on defensive end at opposite miles. That's something you'd want to buoy a little bit, but it should completely allow Andrew Berry to just have free thought, and I'm sure that was his plan all along, because he's always got a plan for everything. But you've been with the organization a long time. That's a unique place to be right there.
Yeah, and I think there's almost something to it, too, where that you mentioned that kind of freedom. I mean, you see over the years these consistent winners, and you look at 2 in your division with the Ravens and the Steelers, picking in the 20s really hasn't seemed to matter for those 2 teams in getting talented players. The Steelers just sit there and wait and grab a TJ Watt. 1 year they need to make a move up a little bit to get a linebacker to fill a need. They move up 10 spots, they get a Devin Bush who's going to be there for probably forever. It just seems like those when you're in that spot, you just have so much more flexibility when you aren't trying to address immediate needs. And I think the teams that stay at the top of the draft, like the Browns had in previous years, when you're constantly drafting for need, you're going to make some mistakes along the way because you're really pigeonholed into thinking about that. And I think that just is there are really good players that you're going to find in the 20s. There's really good players you're going to find in the 2nd and 3rd round. And if you're truly just going off your evaluations on best player outside of probably the quarterback and running back position, you're probably going to hit on some of these guys. And I think that's the hope. I mean, and you mentioned how the Browns haven't drafted anyone yet. They enter this draft with some really good draft capital, and they have some flexibility if they want to potentially make a move up, make a move back, and target and get even more assets. They've got 6 picks in the first 4 rounds and 9 picks total. So it really does make the draft interesting. And really, at this point of the offseason, like you said, the Browns could play a game today and feel good about it. That makes these draft picks gravy. And then you think about the impact that the draft picks had last year on this team. You got to expect that a few of those guys are going to be impact players on this 2021 team as well.
Where are you looking now in the draft? Where would you say, as we get into, I'm sure we'll get to a mock 2.0 soon enough, but what are you thinking, has your positional thinking changed? I know certainly mine has from where I had us going in the first mock with Owusu-Koramoah from Notre Dame. That I don't think that's, maybe they say best player available and that's fine, we go with it, but that's probably my thinking's going to change. How's yours changed, if at all?
Yeah, I mean, I'm obviously focusing a little bit more on the pass rushers, and I think it's an interesting situation because you did bring in Tack McKinley that helps you out and could be a potential starter for you week 1. But, we talked about it on the BPA, you draft a pass rusher at number 26, you obviously understand there's going to be a learning curve there. It's not going to be probably a plug-in right away kind of guy because it's just an elite position, and if there's an elite ready-made guy, they're going earlier in the draft. So it's one of those that you can maybe you're more intrigued by a developmental guy. Maybe there's a guy like a Gregory Rousseau who slips down there after not playing last season. The pass rushers definitely come into focus for me a little bit more. I still, even after the signing of Troy Hill, I can't ignore cornerback. I just think it's an area where you can keep filling it up. I mean, just keep loading up with those players. Just like with the signing of John Johnson, ease the burden on Greedy Williams coming back. You don't have to rely on him right away, potentially. So just fill up that room with as much talent as you possibly can. I'm not saying I eliminate linebacker, and I'm not saying I eliminate safety, but maybe those take a little bit of focus off just because the signing of Anthony Walker was, I think, significant. Bringing back Malcolm Smith was significant. Those are 2 players that are going to play for you and potentially play a lot. So maybe those take a little bit off the back burner. Maybe I'm not pegging Zaven Collins to the Browns at number 26 anymore, but it still is. Nothing's changed. 5 free agent signings, all on defense. I'm still thinking defense in the draft.
Yeah, same. J.C. Horn's having his pro day, the South Carolina corner, and he said that he's talked multiple times with the Browns, called them a team on the come-up, said it would be a blessing to be drafted there. And I certainly agree with you. I think corner, pass rusher could be – that's where the Browns could go early in this draft. Now, Gribbs, we talked about Troy Hill. We talked about Malik Jackson. You got a chance to speak with both of them. We'll be playing your Troy Hill interview, an exclusive here on CBD at the bottom of the hour. What were kind of your impressions of those two? And I know you had a great Malik Jackson interview from back in the day, and so I want to see if he's still bringing it, still got the gas.
I said, Malik was an all-time character at Tennessee during an all-time goofy season in 2010 and with Derek Dooley as the head coach down there. And he was obviously a character transferring from USC to Tennessee. He made an immediate impact. And honestly, he's had a heck of a career being a 5th-round pick and really just kind of found his way in the league. And he's still the same interesting guy. And I think him and Troy Hill are both veterans entering this stage of their career, 2 kind of, I wouldn't say different reasons. Both believe highly in the Browns' potential, but obviously Troy Hill is like a homecoming story from Youngstown and really has almost all of his family here. I think you mentioned it's going to be a tough time divvying up tickets for him because he's going to have a lot of takers on that end. But then Malik Jackson, I think it's a combination of knowing the Browns are a team that could potentially get him another trip back to the Super Bowl, which he scored a touchdown in the Super Bowl. He's won a Super Bowl. He's entering his 10th season. He wants to win. And then that getting back with Joe Woods, I think knowing him and knowing where he can fit in this defense, and I think seeing an opportunity where he can make an impact. I mean, you lose Ilario Ogunjobi in free agency. Andrew Billings is coming back, and Sheldon Richardson is back. But there's an opportunity for him to be more than just a rotational guy here. I think that there's a chance for him to kind of get back to the level where he was. And I think that his time in Philadelphia, obviously missed most of one season with an injury. Last year, the overall Eagles team just struggled in general. I mean, this is a guy that played 6 straight seasons with 16 games. I mean, this is a durable guy that loves playing football, and I think he wants to get back to that level. So 2 different kind of reasons for coming back, but I think these are 2 guys that are going to be impact players for this defense this year.
Good stuff, Gribbs. We'll look forward to your interview with Troy Hill. We'll be playing it here in about 15 minutes. Appreciate your time today, buddy.
No problem. Thanks, guys.
All right, that is our senior staff writer, Andrew Gribble, joining us on the Fifth Third Money Line. Reminder, all guests who appear on Cleveland Browns Daily do so via the Fifth Third Money Line. Fifth Third Bank, making Cleveland Browns Daily a Fifth Third better. You listen to Cleveland Browns Daily on 850 ESPN Cleveland. All right, welcome back into Cleveland Browns Daily on a Tuesday edition of the program. Pat McAfee, certainly not one short of opinions, and has some on our general manager, Andrew Berry, from his show, The Pat McAfee Show. Let's have a listen.
I like the Browns next year in the AFC North and just leave that out there because that'll be shoved right down the Cowboys Steeler fan base's throat there. But with that being said, Andrew Berry over there. There you go. Andrew Berry is their GM. He has come from the Indianapolis Colts. Now he's their general manager. He was a quarterback at Harvard, okay? Whew. He came up through the Bill Polian system in Indianapolis. I was hoping whenever he was like 26 or something, I don't know if that was actual his age. I think so. Whenever the Colts general manager was up for Bill Polian, I was actually, after getting a chance to know Andrew Berry, as he was a mid-20s guy, much different than I am. But we did have conversations, about the whole thing. I was hoping we would hire him as a GM. He has basically been a general manager, I think, since the day I met him. I would assume since he came out of college. Incredibly intelligent, incredibly calm, cool, been there, done that, doesn't get too worked up, and he knows, we got to go get it here. I'm a big Andrew Berry fan. I think the Cleveland Browns have been the same old Browns. The Browns is the Browns for a long time. This could be for real. Playoff, get a win.
Yeah.
This could be the time where this dog pound, who's been sitting in the outhouse with no roof on that thing, in the mud, they could potentially experience a little bit of the high life with Andrew Berry and his Cleveland Browns squad. Now, Baker Mayfield, is he going to be there for the next 5-10 years? Nobody knows. But you bring back Odell Beckham with what Baker did last year, which was unbelievable. Hunt and Chubb. Then you got Jarvis Landry and also Austin Hooper. And then they got Myles Garrett on the D-line. They tried to add J.J.
You're back up.
Plus 200, double your money.
That's great. I like how he slipped into the Pittsburgh accent there.
Yeah.
For a little bit, because he grew up in that area, and you could hear him in downtown. You could see him fly into that Pittsburgh accent there for a second, which was fun to see, certainly. Look, it's all true. And it's interesting that he has that firsthand experience with Andrew. And I remember even when we were hired, and I didn't know him the way you did, but he was in the building for a little while. That first season up almost to the combine, wasn't it, when he was here in the previous regime? Yeah, and I remember just seeing him in the building and just being so impressed with him as a human, regardless of his acumen of roster building or anything else, which has been exemplary, but just impressed with him as a human. Like, you could tell a lot about somebody with how they treat people. And he treats people so well, and did when he was, in a regime that was obviously going in another direction, and still was the same way always. Which speaks a lot to me about who he is as a person.
Yeah, and he was tremendous. Best flag football player I've ever seen. Guy, he's somebody that you would expect to be very successful. He was unbelievable. And
you had him and Cook out there, right? Didn't you? Him and Glenn Cook?
Glenn was great too, but nobody was like AB. AB was another level.
What was it about his game that separated him from Glenn Cook? Because Glenn Cook played at the U now.
This is flag
what
football.
Did AB?
Flag AB
right.
was just could cover anybody. He could cover literally the whole field playing safety and pick off any pass. His speed was so great. You couldn't tackle him if he was playing receiver. He would get open and he would score. And if he played quarterback, you couldn't stop him, and he can sling it left-handed. He's just he's pretty phenomenal. There was one of the games we were in one of the years when we were playing where he came in at the half. I threw a touchdown like at the end of the first half, I want to say, and I don't know the exact numbers, but directionally speaking, what I'm about to say is correct without exaggeration. Pretty sure going into the half, we were up like, I want to say 37-14.
Okay.
We did not win the game.
No. AB comes in, that's it.
That was it.
Good night.
That was it. Yeah.
That's awesome.
He's dominant. Great. But, it's one thing when you hear about Kevin Stefanski and you hear about Andrew Berry, and I think AB, he said his year in Philadelphia was so valuable, and I think it's enhanced him and given him more of a broad view. But, when you get to see those guys together and understand what we're doing, and then Paul and just how similar they all are in their approach and their mannerisms and their temperament, what I was talking about earlier this week, I've gotten to talk with a lot of people on the coaching staff and in the front office this week. Without giving anything, away, it's a really cool thing that they're so interested in the development of the guys on their staff. I mean, that is to me the most selfless act you can have as a boss, is that you're saying, I want you to get so good that you are going to get a better job than I can offer you today. Maybe you grow into that job with me as other people leave, but basically I want everybody here to be prepared for the day that they're going to be a head coach or a general manager, and I'm going to start that development of you day one. I don't care if you're a quality control coach. I don't care if you're just an assistant who's come in. I want you to get the same experiences I'm getting for all of my top coaches, because look where I started as assistant to the head coach, and now I'm a head coach. And so the investment in the people, that, again, professional utopia. You don't hear things like that. That is not something that is uttered on the reg in professional workplaces. How many people, say that about their job? And I can tell you it's not just because, they're so pumped to be working in the NFL. Nay, that was not the case for many who had been, at various times for various reasons. But right now you have that feeling here, and I think it's just a special thing. And when you make that kind of commitment in your people and they know you're that committed to them, it says so much. It says so much about who you are as a leader, and that's both AB and Kevin Stefanski. I'm so impressed.
And Paul, I mean, all of them are just so. It's amazing that you're able to find it. That we're able. You would have thought that they had all, come up together at the same school. Now they're all Ivy League guys, but they're all at different places. It's remarkable that it comes out that way, and they're all organically together here, and it's all working out. It's egoless too, which is the most remarkable. Is it's done completely void of ego.
There was something that was said to me
or credit
in this, that it is an idea meritocracy. They don't care where the idea comes from. They just care that they get to the best idea and they don't need the credit. They don't care about that. I mean, every time we talk about how impactful, for example, the 4-H talks were, Kevin Stefanski, the first thing he does is talk about where he learned it. I think it was at VCU at from their basketball program, and said, but I thought it was a good idea, so I took it. He'll watch every explosive play in the league. Oh, that was a good play. I'm going to add that into our repertoire. They don't care about that. They just care about getting it right. When you have that fosters so much collaboration, where you can have a guy who's coming in here as an intern feel comfortable enough to walk into either the head coach or the general manager's, office, ask them a question about something specific, get an answer. They're growing. They're becoming smarter about it. Sometimes, for the coach, the general manager, it's a perspective they hadn't heard before, and it's all about arriving at the best possible solution. This free agency period didn't happen by accident. This has been in the works since back in November. They were waiting to get to the start of it because their plan was already in place through all kinds of work and discussion and collaboration of who the targets were going to be, how they were going to target them, how they would react to the market in various positions. All was done. So this was easy. It was one person said to me, which I thought was so smart, is you go back to college. When you got to your final, if you had done the work leading up to it and the preparation and the studying, the final itself was easy.
Right. Can't wait.
Because you'd put the work in, and that's what they have done here. It's as much as that was, just getting to be a part of the things I experienced the last 2 days, it taught me so much and gave me even such a better understanding of just how special what is going on here is and how appreciative of those who are in the midst of it are. And it really is. It's a cool thing, and it's a cool thing. And Browns fans, we're very, very lucky to be a part of it right now. And we're going to continue to see the fruits on the field, which is what I think ultimately we all care about the most. But you're going to see these things happen. You're going to continue to see these things happen.
You can't make a Super Bowl happen. Like they happen. Sometimes it's luck. Sometimes it's circumstance. There's a million factors that lead into a team making a run at a Super Bowl. What I do feel very confident in saying about this group running this team right now, and one that we hope runs it for a very, very long time, is that I feel like you're going to get a lot of at-bats. You're going to be in the mix consistently because everything that they are doing is being done with an idea of sustained excellence. It's all being done with not only being better now, but being better 2 years from now, and so that you can keep the guys you want. There's a plan for all of it. It's well thought out. It's organized. And there's the best teams in the league do this. And now, we're early into this, and we're not crowning anybody yet. But this is a tremendous difference from what we've seen. And it's showing in the roster, and it's showing in the results as well.
Yep.
We mentioned that interview with Troy Hill. That will come up next with Sir Andrew. You're listening to Cleveland Browns Daily on 850 ESPN Cleveland. If you live and breathe football, you know sometimes keeping your priorities straight can be a challenge. Unfortunately, the same can be true when you gamble. So if your gambling is affecting other parts of your life, get help. Get some tips on responsible gambling at KeepItFunOhio.com. The best secondary in the NFL last year belonged to the Los Angeles Rams. We signed John Johnson III early in free agency last week. We signed Troy Hill late in free agency last week. They made up 40% of that defense, and they are now Cleveland Browns. And anytime you get the best of the NFL, that is a win. Our good buddy, Sir Andrew Gribble, with this interview with Troy Hill on becoming a Cleveland Brown.
Troy, I just got to ask you, how did it feel to finally –
You guys are down. It's about 10.5 minutes.
The Browns.
Okay, buddy.
Yeah, it felt good. It felt good coming back home and making it official, coming back to the city, a hard-working city and everything that it come with. And I'm ready to get to work now.
And walk me through that. You grew up in Youngstown, and then you go to California to play high school football. Kind of tell me about your upbringing a little bit.
I grew up in Youngstown, Ohio, and I ended up moving to California when I was 15. Basically, Youngstown, small city, not really much going on out there, you know what I'm saying? So I moved to California and get a little better opportunity to go play ball and really just try to graduate because, I wasn't really doing too good at school when I was in Youngstown, kind of running around doing the wrong things. But, moving to California kind of was a blessing for me because, it changed my mindset, changed everything about me. But it's a blessing because Youngstown, that kind of gave me the fundamentals and the foundation that I needed to survive and withstand things like that because, Youngstown, a hard-working city too.
And you were out in Los Angeles for the last few years. What's it like now to be back in Cleveland in the spring? It's really nice weather today. It might not last, but how's it feel? Does it feel like home?
Yeah, it felt like home. Like I said, all my family down here. So, the first stop I did, I actually went to go see all my family, and they embraced me, and it's been a while since I've seen them, due to the COVID things and everything like that. So, I'm excited. I'm excited to be back home. This is really my home. California was just like, that was temporary. That's my second home, but like, it ain't nothing compared to like when you got your real family around you and the way they embrace you with that real love. So I'm excited to get to work for the city of Cleveland, for this organization, and, growing up and seeing everything that they built and where they at right now. So I'm excited.
Kind of walk me through the process of what the past few days were like and how excited you were to see that there was a mutual interest and a chance you could come home.
It was kind of hard though because between them and LA, it was probably my last two. It was probably between them and LA, but like I said, LA became a second home for me. But when I got that opportunity and I seen that they was interested, it kind of made a decision a lot harder. Like, oh man, I got an opportunity to go be in front of my family who I'm sure they miss me. They ain't get to see me play like that as consistent as, how it is for my family in LA. So I felt like it was time for me to come back home anyway. Like, it made the decision a little easier. Like, all right, it's time to come back home. Like, God gave me this opportunity for a reason. Like, he wanted to put Cleveland in the mix like that. Because that was the last team that I ever expected to show interest in me. So when that happened, it was like, okay, now I feel like God's trying to give me a sign, like it's time for me to come home, try to do something big for my community, for the city of Cleveland, and be a part of this special journey that they got going on right now. And being a hometown kid and growing up watching them, and I seen all the dog days that they had. So I'm trying to come out there and be something positive and do what's right and go out there and snap and bring home a championship.
Now, when you texted John Johnson and you told him you were following him to Cleveland, did you know that he didn't believe you initially, or did you realize that?
I didn't know at first. You know what I'm saying? It took a little while before he texted me back, the announcement was already made, and then he like sent me a emoji with I forget who was on it, but he was like this, telling me to come on home. So I was excited about that. And he made the decision a little easier too, just being familiar with somebody, and I know his play style, I know everything that he finna bring to the table. So he made it a lot easier for me to come home.
What was clicking so well for both of you guys last year? You guys finished the season #1 in pass defense, #1 in total defense. What about that defense made both of you guys such good players for?
I think it was just everybody will to do their job. Really, everybody wanted to do their job and have success, and we all cheer for each other type of thing. So, I think that was more so in the camaraderie that we had and just taking ownership of what we needed to do out there on that field. And we was able to come out there and have high success. And I mean, it was just everybody believing in each other type of thing too. Like I believed in everybody on that secondary. So, you know what I'm saying, from top to bottom, honestly. So that's where it really started. We all believed in each other.
And what about moving to the slot has helped your career kind of go to the next level here?
I'm still learning the position, to be honest, and I'm excited to see where I can go with it. You know, last year was my first year playing in that slot, and I just think the will for me to want to be a football player more than just don't put me as just, oh, he's just a cornerback or he's just this, that. I think I just want to be a football player, be labeled as a football player. Like, hey, if you need me to go play receiver, I can go do that too, like type of thing. So, I mean, I feel like just understanding the game a little bit and being on the outside and all the journey that I had, like my trials and tribulations, it kind of just, it made me a lot more humble. I'm a man now, like in the situation, I always been a man, but like all the little things that I went through, it kind of humbled me in a way to like come back to the drawing board and make sure that I needed to do what I needed to do to support my family and do everything. Cause I mean, it was times where I can be a wild child and do all that. So, I mean, I think I just got focused and like taking on that. When the Rams told me last year that I was gonna move into the slot, it was like, all right, this is another challenge, this another, you know what I'm saying, another task in my, or I don't even know how to say it, but like it's just another opportunity for me to show who I am and show what I can do. Like I'm not really worried about just what happens, like, because I know things in life happens to you and you got to deal with them. So it was another challenge for me to show, like, look, I can be successful wherever you put me out on the field. I can do whatever. So I'm just trying to embrace that and keep aging like fine wine.
What's it like to finish the season #1 in the NFL in defensive touchdowns? How much did that mean to you?
Ooh, I felt good. I mean, it felt good. You know, I wish I would have been able to come out with a Super Bowl, but I mean, that's a crazy accolade. I scored more times than some of your favorite receivers out there. So, I mean, you know that, you know what I'm saying? So I'm gonna take that. That's an accomplishment, and I'm just gonna keep on going.
What are you thinking when you get the ball in your hands? I mean, what about your skill set lets you do that?
Score. That's all I want to do is score. I mean, when I get the ball in my hand, I just kind of go back to being a kid. Like, all right, it's time to go to the end zone. Like, let's go. Just, you know what I'm saying? As a DB, you don't really get the ball that much. And a couple of my interceptions in my career is like I catch it and I'm already balling. So when I got the opportunity to catch the ball and go, it's like my whole mindset is go score. Like, let's go put this stamp on it. Let's go make your mark type of thing.
Now you're entering the 2021 season. You go all the way back to your college days at Oregon. You come in the league as an undrafted free agent. What's it mean to be signing a new deal, still playing football at this stage of your career when you had to overcome so much to just stick around in the league?
It's a blessing, and like you said, I overcame so much throughout my career, and it's like I come back to a city like this, Cleveland, who go through so much and, you know what I'm saying, fight through adversity, and this is a building city and everything. I feel like it's a perfect match for me to actually like go out there and even have more success, just because like I can relate. I can relate to everything that it go through, and I can relate to, you know what I'm saying, the people out here, because my family's in the same situation. So, I mean, I feel like the sky's the limit for this team and for myself too. So, I mean, I'm excited to be here. And like I said, I got to thank God for giving me this opportunity and everything. So.
And then what do you think about coming to a team that after what they did last year, what is it like to get with the Browns now after the team made the playoffs for the first time in a long time last year and got kind of ascending as a team right now?
Right. So when I was a kid and I used to be watching the Browns, because like in my city in Youngstown, it's a split between Cleveland and Pittsburgh because it's only like 45 minutes away, even though I ain't like me in one of the teams growing up. But like I just seen like all the adversity that they went through, you know what I'm saying? Like they think they got their #1 draft pick, then something bad happened, or woo, wow, wow, whatever, something bad happened. And like I said, it go back to me, and like when things happen, it's like, all right, bet, your life, whatever, everything happened. And so when I seen them doing that, it's like, damn, they finally came over that hump of that adversity, and they getting it together and all that. So it's like, I want to be a part of that for the city and hopefully bring them a championship. And you know what I'm saying, be a part of history, because I know how loyal these fans is, because I seen it with my own two eyes. I done witnessed all that stuff. So like when I seen that, it's like, yeah, they got something going on over there. So it made a decision a lot easier for me too to come here, because it's like I want to be a part of that too. I'm a hometown kid, and I know what it means to the city to, you know what I'm saying? I know everything that these people of the cities and around the whole Ohio feel about their team. So I'm excited.
And then last one for me is you're joining a cornerbacks room that's led by Denzel Ward, another Cleveland guy, local guy, and now with John Johnson in the secondary. What are you thinking about the group you're joining now and what it can do in 2021?
I feel like we can be special, and the sky's the limit. You know, we gotta come out there. We're gonna have to put the work in every day, and then come out and show everybody. But on paper, the sky's the limit for us right now. So, I mean, I'm excited to get to work with them boys and show what I can do out there, and be an open book to them too, because I done been around a lot of these corners who's been staples in the game.
10 seconds, stand by.
I'm excited. I feel like the sky's the limit for us.
Cool. Well, Troy, thank you so much, and welcome back, and we're looking forward to seeing you on the field.
You guys back up?
Boy, you like the fit here, Z. It's a good fit, and you like what this secondary could look like. And again, you'd hear the enthusiasm in the voice of coming to play for the Browns, and that's a welcome sign and what should be a welcome result on the field. This just in, by the way, from the Steelers. I guess maybe we just knew that this had to happen once Juju was signed, but that Steven Nelson, the corner, has been released by the Steelers. So that's Hilton and Nelson out in Pittsburgh.
They had decided that he was going to be
officially
out. They then said, well, can we seek a trade? They said, yeah. But apparently then they were maybe not as active seeking a trade, or nothing was working out. And so he said, took to Twitter earlier today, right before this announcement came out, and said,
okay,
don't hold me hostage. You've already made your decision. Don't hold me hostage. # let me go. And so that's what they did. He's good. It's amazing to me that they have let Steven Nelson go, who played pretty darn well for them. They've let Mike Hilton go, but they're keeping Joe, who is a tremendous human. But Joe Hayden's been in the league a while now. He's at this point, at his position, certainly he's still very, very good, but he's not on the front nine of his career anymore. And he's expensive. So I'm surprised that with some of the ultimate decisions that they made.
Yeah, so it was interesting when we played that clip from Pat McAfee in his show about picking us to win the division. My response to that is, well, yeah. I mean, us or Baltimore, that's the way that it would be. I thought we were better than Baltimore, despite the result at the end of the year here, obviously. But you still feel like by the end of the year you're heading in the right direction. I think it's more sustainable. So I think all those things are real, and I think Pittsburgh's taking an enormous step back. And I'm not crazy about what the Bengals have done either.
Mike Hilton's 27, Steven Nelson's 28, and Joe's 31. If you're going to keep one of those guys, you'd probably go younger.
I said this yesterday. It's possible. They've been so great, and we've hoped to achieve what they've achieved as an organization.
Yes.
But it does seem like they've gotten nostalgic a little bit with their roster because of the things you just said. Roethlisberger back, Juju. Like they've gotten emotional with decisions that, Juju coming back doesn't make much sense with their roster to me.
Well, right, you could be fine at receiver with Deontay Johnson, Chase Claypool, and James Washington and feel pretty good about trotting that out there and, not need to make the investment. I think with Juju, it just came maybe what they expected he was going to cost. It's so much down from that, and he is a very good player. He is.
No question. He's a very good player.
Listen, I'll say this. I'm happier he ended up of the 3 teams he could have ended up with. I'm happier that he's in Pittsburgh than I would have been if he were in Baltimore or Kansas City.
Oh, gosh, yeah. Yes. Yeah. No question. All right, still so much more to come. You're listening to Cleveland Roselli on 850 ESPN Cleveland. All right, final segment on a Tuesday edition of the program. What are you watching these days? Did you start a new program? I got to start a new program tonight.
What are you going with?
Banshee last night.
I mean, I think Outlander, man. I'm telling you, you're not going to be sad. You're not going to regret it. You're going to like it. 4 seasons.
Usually,
length.
I like length. I like having a little bit of girth to it. I think the thing that I like to try to do, what I like to try to do with the series is if I'm going to go from something with like the intensity of Banshee and that level, then you want to like a little bit of a come back to earth, a little more.
This would have been a great time for like Red Oaks, but you've already gone through it. This would have been a perfect time for Red
I've already
Oaks.
done it.
Yeah. Schitt's Creek would have been great.
1 minute.
One with, there's some good stuff out there. So I don't know. We'll see. I held off, Gibby. I didn't say it. All right. But I'm going to have to balance a little bit.
Captain Dummy over there with the light.
No, he didn't either.
He did.
Listen, you based on some of the things you've said on air in the last 14 days, zip it.
Sure. Valid.
Where's the meeting at tonight?
Here's what we.
Watch some more of
I'll
Tucci.
let you know.
Watch some more Tucci. It's not a series,
yeah, that's a good
it's
one.
Great.
No, I love it. Yeah,
Yeah.
I'm glad that you enjoyed it as well. I got a couple of
do.
those left, so we'll probably take in that tonight. All right, good stuff. Next level coming up next. We're back tomorrow. Thanks for the